a reason to fight.
Thing that we look about when we talk about fear, is that we look about our story. We think about us. We're focused about ourselves, right? Where fear, again, as I mentioned in the past couple messages, fear is focused on self, love is focused on others. And when we're fearful, we're afraid. And that's not what God's looking for. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be cautious. Again, love is cautious. Love is cautious for others and cares for others. So don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand. However, I'm just talking about the inner motivation of selfishness versus giving and loving. But I'm also talking about who's the author of your story. Who is the main character of the story right now in your life? Because even as we touch on identity, it brings up that question, right? Who is the main person in the story of your life? And then it comes back, and my point is that, is it even your life to begin with, right? Is it even your life? Everything we're thinking about is about ourselves, about caring for the people we love. However, can you realize for a second that God cares even more? And this goes back to my point that we have a deficit of understanding who God is, the value of who He is, the reality of who He is. The reality of COVID-19, unfortunately, I think is much bigger than the reality of God in our life and in this world presently right now. I think people are running to God, but the weight of a reality of this disease, because we're hearing about it in the media, seeing about it, maybe know somebody, but again, the weight of Christianity and God is different. Now again, I'm also shifting it to talking about the story. Who's the centerpiece of the story right now? Who is the centerpiece of the story? Because I believe if we make this God's story right now in our life, then we will see what we see in the Bible. Why? Because the Bible is God's story. The Bible is full of stories of the underdog and the impossible taking place. And if our life begins to shift where we're no longer the centerpiece of the story, but God is, perhaps we'll see God's victory. Maybe not necessarily our victories, but God's victory through all of this. And that's a changing where all of a sudden now you need to be the second fiddle. You're not the main character, you're the second character. Where all of a sudden this is not about the book of your life, but you realize that you're written in His book of life. And realize that you're part of His story, right? History, His story. Some of you have already heard that anecdote before, but just mentioning again.